Hi, Tiffany.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so how did you get involved and passionate about education and fighting for the truth?
Well, myself, I'm an education buff, so I have multiple degrees, whether I need them or not. I love learning. And then when it comes to getting involved with children, I have a generational kind of thought process. I think that God thinks about generations, not just who's present on the earth, but who will be here in the future. And so in fighting for children, I'm fighting for the future. They're pure, they're innocent, and they need good role models. So if you care about children and you care about education, why not get involved? That's how I think.
Yeah, so in what ways are you protecting children in education?
Well, I am standing up in boardrooms. Okay, so which is the hard part? I started out as a keyboard warrior. I think, and making the phone calls and sending the emails, and that may seem like the least that someone can do, but that is something that you can do because it's giving the children a voice that they otherwise wouldn't have. So I went from being a keyboard warrior, making my phone calls, sending my strongly worded emails, to where I'm like, okay, I have to go in the boardroom and speak. Um, I don't ever walk in with the expectation that I'm going to change someone's mind, but I have to plant the seed and let, those who are in control of education know that there are people who care about children, not just the business of the district.
Yeah, so what gives you courage to actually speak at school board meetings?
Well, I would have to say, first of all, is my faith in the Lord. And then, like I said, just second, these are going to be children who are going to become our future senators. They're going to become future teachers. They're going to become just future leaders in my community. And I want to see them thrive. And I want business owners to have a good pool of applicants that are graduating from my school district.
Yeah, that's so important. So I want to know what you think the purpose of education is.
Well, that has changed over time. But I think the primary purpose of education was for people to be able to lift themselves out of like poverty and situations that they felt like were beyond their control by other means, whether financially or having connections. But if you can read, even Dr. Ben Carson would say, I started reading. And once I saw that I could work hard, I could change, my situation. So I think education should still be a key to changing your situation if that's what you want to do. It should lead you somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen education decline drastically in America. What do you think has led to that decline?
Well, it's multifaceted, I think. Probably one of the main things is that parents have been kind of lulled into this sleep of just drop your kids off, just queue up in the morning and then queue up at night after work, come and get them. And in between that time, trust us with the education and well-being of your child for 35, 40 hours a week. So I think parents have to, put their eye back on the ball. And then I think also another reason why education has declined is because we've become so administration heavy. Even good teachers are being passed over for good promotions and the tools that they need in the classroom, all of this because we have to have so many high paid administrators just to point people in whatever direction they need to go. I'm not saying I am an administrator, so I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you have too many and their purpose becomes about business and not necessarily education, it can be difficult to make sure that the goals are met.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen an increase of perverse ideologies invade, especially public schools, but we're seeing it even seep into Christian schools. I know there's lots of skeptics out there. So how bad is it really?
My recommendation is that if you can pull your kids out, you should pull your kids out. If you can't, then you have to take that time at the dinner table or whatnot and put in some work to re-educate your child. You have to make a sacrifice somewhere. There's no way around it. And then whether you have kids enrolled in the district in a public school or not, you should run to take over the school board. You should be doing parent groups and basically creating a community around that child so that others can see, unfortunately, so that predators can see that these children are taken care of.
So some people don't believe that critical race theory is being taught in the classrooms. They also don't necessarily think that gender ideologies are being taught in the classrooms. So What evidence do you have that that is actually happening across the United States?
Well, I think the evidence is the children themselves. If we have all of these statistics that are coming out that are saying that, that these younger generations, they are now identifying with an L, a G, a B, a T, a Q more than ever. A high number of girls who are transitioning themselves. They are, removing healthy body parts, things like that. If we see this happening, that's, to me, unfortunately, it's the last sign. The first sign is when your child starts to their behaviors start to change, their thought process about life, their values are starting to slip. And then obviously, if you're trying to set up parent-teacher conferences, or you're just a community member, whether you have children or not, and you want to go tour the library or whatever, if you start to feel like there's more closed doors in your district and there's not a lot of transparency, those are red flags. The other evidence, obviously, it's the curriculum. That we see the issues we're having with sports, with boys playing in girls' sports because of their gender identity and things like that. So it's very real. I would invite anyone to interview a middle school, high school student and ask them about their experiences so you know firsthand.
So you were recently in Pastor John Amachuku's documentary, 22 Words. Pastor John has been very outspoken at school board meetings. What advice do you have for parents or general community members when it comes to speaking at school board meetings? How do you prepare for that? What can they say? How can they actually make change?
Well, I think the first thing that you should do if you've never been to a school board meeting, you should go to one. The first time you go, don't necessarily be prepared to speak, but be prepared to listen and learn how an official proceeding would go. And then you're going to want to follow those rules as much as possible. And then from there, you just take steps. And so you get to know your board members, get to know the superintendent and who's in his cabinet. So those are all of your high level administrators, and find out, okay, what is the vision for the district? And then what strategic plans are you putting in place? How are these funds being spent, these tax dollars, That's the primary thing. And then if you want to prepare to speak, then study that issue, okay? Find an issue. Don't try to be involved in everything all the time, but find the one issue that you care about. There are some people who maybe their kids are grown and they're taxpayers. Okay, they are very invested in where their grandkids are going to school. And again, if they're business owners, okay, what kind of education are we getting for that high school diploma? I'm going to hire them. And be prepared when you go in. Know your issues and come with solutions. Know how you want to solve something rather than just bringing the problem to the district. So,
Yeah, that's such wise advice. Speaking of solutions, our Educators Summit, we do one every single year with Turning Point Academy. It's going to be July 10 through 13 in Florida.
okay, good.
We help train up teachers, school board members, et cetera, to get activated in their community, as well as be reminded that there's others that they're like-minded and they're not alone in the work that they're doing. So the theme for this year is going to be Make Education Great Again, returning to our purpose. In your opinion, how do we make education great again here in our country?
I mean, number one, parents. Parents. That's my wake-up call in my in my activism that I'm doing, in my advocacy work that I'm doing. It's about parental rights, because that's what's being stripped. And if we want education to be great, then we have to have parents who are involved, who are stewarding education. And then second thing is we basically need to free our teachers to practice their craft. They're professionals in their own right, but we need to give them good tools, not CRT, not rainbow books, not any of that, but basically what they specialize in, let them teach the children.
Do you have any advice for teachers that are beginning to see these patterns of how education has become corrupt, but are unsure what to do? What advice do you have for them?
I would say document everything. That's probably a number one. Document. And then follow the chain. Go to your superior. Okay, try to go to whoever the lead is for your division, your principal, your superintendent, whatever, and escalate those issues. Speak out at board meetings if you're brave enough. I know some people's jobs are on the line, and so there's a lot of advocacy that needs to be done with that. But definitely document and then escalate the issues as they come about.
So, of course, we want to fight against any harmful doctrines that are being taught in classrooms, but how do we increase the virtuous doctrine and the virtue back into education?
Well, if we're talking about public education, unfortunately, that's just a secular institution. We see a lot of fighting that is going on in a good way. Oklahoma and a couple other places that are trying to bring back the Bible. And I think they're trying to do it the right way, making it a part of like history, a history class, and having the Ten Commandments posted alongside the Declaration of Independence. And biblically, obviously, that's what we know what our documents were founded on. So if we want to teach that from a historical perspective, then that's good for everybody. That's not, pushing Christianity or saying they have to believe in Jesus Christ. It's just really basic. This is the philosophy of our founders. So it creates, civic knowledge. So you have that knowledge of the history of our country. And then otherwise, what we have to probably get rid of is a lot of the CRT mess where we're kind of handling people with kid gloves because they have more or less melanin in their skin, or we think we know their background, but we haven't had a real conversation with them or their family. Just get back to treating people as people and let children be children.
Yeah, that is so important. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And we pray that the work that you do will spread and continue, and that the Lord will bless your work.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.